Psalms.
Psalms? P-S-A-L-M-S?
Psalms 108:13 reads, "With God we gain victory. We will trample down our enemies." Today, Karla March will share with us about the enemies that is known as the abortion industry and how God will give us victory by giving hope to the hopeless. Today, know you are in the right place. Karla is the founder and CEO of Jewels Alive LLC. Jewels Alive equips women by teaching them how to live victoriously in a world that is exploiting women and devaluing children. Karla was the executive director of the president of the Pregnancy Medical Clinic in Montana for 10 years and is the author of Burning the Picket Fence and co-author of Positive, A Story of Hope. A wife to kind man.
That's okay.
And mother to Cameron, Spencer, Sasha, Austin, and Bethany, and grandmother to 3 beautiful grandchildren. Please help me welcome Karla March as she shares her story, A Place of Despair.
Have you ever found yourself somewhere you didn't want to be? I have. More than once. Felt like your life was out of control and you had no voice. I have. One place reminds me about 28 years ago. My friend Jewel, we were in college. We were dorm mates. Things were pretty crazy. She had one of those ponytails out of the side of her head like Madonna and wore the socks that matched the lace in her hair. She's a tiny little thing. One day she asked me if I could take her to the clinic to get some birth control. I said, yeah, I guess I could do that. So we went to the clinic. We sat down when we got into the waiting room on those black leather cold chairs. It was dark. I thought to myself, wow, this is a weird place to get birth control. The lady called her up to the window and gave her this huge stack of paper. Will you please fill all of this out? She kind of reminded me of somebody from the 50s. Leave It to Beaver, pin curlers in her hair, and polyester. She sat down and started filling out this huge stack of paperwork. And I thought to myself again, man, that's a lot of paperwork for birth control. The lady called her back. Jewel, it's your turn. So she got up and went behind the door. And it slammed. Click, 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 click. Like she just went into prison. That thought was pretty true, but not the kind of prison we're used to. I sat down in the waiting room and picked up these flyers, and one of them said, "How to not get a sexually transmitted disease." I put that down. About 15 minutes later, I heard a scream. It was my friend. So I went to the lady in the window and asked her if I could go and help my friend. And she said, "If you don't sit down, you're getting escorted out." So I went and sat down. However, about 5 minutes later, the lady comes and gets me. "Will you please go get your friend? She's taking too long." Wait a minute. A minute ago you wanted to escort me out. Now you want me to go behind that door? Of course I went. There was a girl standing in the hallway that was crouched over and in pain. I walked into the recovery room, if that's what you want to call it. There were 4 girls in those leather blue chairs that no matter how much you clean them, they never look clean. It was probably one of the saddest places I'd ever been. They were weeping and pale. I gently picked up my friend Jewel and took her to the car, and we started driving home. She told me that she had screamed because she had decided at the last minute to change her mind. And the doctor told her just to lay there and be quiet, that the problem would soon be over and she could have her life back. He was so far from the truth. She became septic. She was sick for 2 months. She dropped out of school, and I never saw her again. Sorry. That brings me to a place where I shouldn't have been. The Officers Club. My friend's dad was a general, and we would spend all day getting ready to go. We would walk in the door. We were always early. We would sit at the bar, even though we weren't 21. Shh. I remember what I wore one specific night. I had my big, huge black heels on and those black pants, and then those guy shirts, the ones that button all the way up that are kind of too big for you, that were in the 70s. I thought I looked cute. I walked by this one table and I felt a tug on the back of my shirt. And it was a fly boy. Flight suit, glasses, and all. He asked me if I wanted to dance. I said sure, and we went and danced. We spent about 1.5 years dancing. And a lot more. We went to this wedding. We'd been dating for about 1.5 years, and he just graduated from flight school. We're at my friend's wedding, and we're sitting in the pews, and it was outside. And he reaches over to me and he says, "Hey, honey." I said, "Yeah. I don't think you fit in my plan anymore." "Your plan? What plan?" "You know, my plan." "I don't think your plan." How smart was he? He knew I couldn't throw a fit. We're in a wedding. That drive home was quite quiet. 2 days later, I found myself somewhere I didn't want to be. I was standing in the bathroom at my parents' house, staring at a pregnancy test. Was it positive? Yep. He had just told me I didn't fit in his plan anymore. What was I going to do? I waited for till I was about 5.5 months and told my parents. They said they already knew. It was 5.5 months. And that they would support me and that they loved me, and they're actually here and they're supporting me and loving me. As I was arguing with my mom about the fact that I was due on Halloween, I did not want to have a baby on Halloween, but my water broke at 4 a.m. on Halloween. On the way to the hospital, my mom's driving, and I kept going, "I'm not having this baby on Halloween." And my mom went, "Yeah, you probably are having this baby on Halloween." As we were driving, this huge shooting star across the sky. And my mom said, "Did you see that shooting star?" I said, "Yeah." That's a sign from God. It's going to be okay that you have this baby on Halloween. He came into the world, 8 pounds, 15 ounces. This huge head of black curly hair, brown eyes, beautiful baby boy. So proud of who he's become. No. I settled into being a single mom. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I worked in a daycare and I had good parents, and I was 22, and I knew that I wasn't going to choose abortion because of my friend's experience. I could have chose adoption, but I knew that I could be a mom He was about a year and a half old, and I wanted to find him a dad. I cannot explain the urgency and the reason that all reality flies out the window. Because the most important thing, once that thought is in your mind, is finding a dad for your son. I dressed up in my black man killer dress, except mine was red. And I went out searching. I remember walking onto the dance floor, and I knew I looked good. And there he was, Prince Charming. Brown hair, blue eyes. Man, he could dance. We spent the next year dancing. He loved Cameron. Things were good. He asked me to marry him, which was a change. Never put a ring on my finger. And about, I don't know, a couple months later, I was standing in the bathroom again, staring at another pregnancy test. This cannot be right. Am I really here again? Now I know what you're all thinking. Why didn't she learn the first time? You want to know how many times I've heard that? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. And when I get to heaven, that's maybe one of the questions I'm going to ask God. Nevertheless, I went to the hospital once again to deliver another baby. He was 9 pounds, 5 ounces. Beautiful brown hair, healthy, gorgeous. So proud of him. His dad, however, 2 days after he was born, disappeared off the face of the earth. Cinderella in the shoe, gone. No idea. Dropped off, never found him again. There I was, now as a single mom with 2. I went to school. I was not going to fail and fall to the statistics that said your boys would end up in jail if you're a single mom. I did everything in my power to do the things I needed to do. I started going to church. I was baptized. I became a Christian. I was not going to get into any more inappropriate relationships. Cameron was about 3.5 and Spencer was about 2, and it was the day after Christmas. My parents had taken the kids, so I could get a little R&R. My friend called me, she knew that I was alone, and said, "Hey, let's go out to dinner." Just dinner. She said, "Yeah, just dinner. Promise? I'm not going bar hopping anymore. I'm not going there. I just want to be a mom." We went to dinner, and right about when we were finishing dinner, and I'm pretty sure this was pre-planned, here come 5 guys. There was a dance hall upstairs. But one of them, black Stetson cowboy hat, belt buckle, cowboy boots. So cute. We went upstairs and, you guessed it, danced the night away. But he was a Christian, and I was a Christian. And we had decided we were not going to cross that line. We dated for about 6 months, and he asked me to marry him, and he put a ring on my finger. A month later, however, I found myself in the bathroom again, holding that pregnancy test. But I wasn't alone this time. He was excited, and I was on my way to a 3rd pregnancy. Austin, oh wait, shoot, start. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Austin came into the world at 9 pounds, 15 ounces. Beautiful baby boy. Brown hair, brown eyes, just like his dad. His dad came and cut the umbilical cord. He was so excited. We were a family. I was married. We had a white picket fence, 2 dogs, 2.5 kids. I don't know how you do that. We were good. We went to my 2-month check, and the doctor calls into the office and he says, "We need to talk to you." I thought something was really wrong, so we went and sat down. He looks at me. He says, "You're pregnant." What? You're pregnant. Now, my brother used to joke that I could get pregnant standing downwind from a guy. He's probably right. 7 months later, Bethany came into the world. 10 pounds, 5 ounces. Beautiful baby girl, amazing, bouncy, rosy cheeks. I'm proud of her too. We moved to the mountains, and I don't know if I was ready for what was about to ensue. One morning I got a phone call and answered the phone. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was a woman. She said she was sleeping with my husband. Okay. And she said she wasn't the first. And my white picket fence and everything came crumbling down. When we moved to the mountains, we were trying to start over, and he was a trucker. And he bought a motorcycle. One night he went out on his motorcycle, and it was in August 14th. And he never came back. For 5.5 weeks we looked for him, and he had passed away. Talk about somewhere you don't want to be. Planning your husband's funeral, and now a widow with 4 children. Let me tell you something, though. Why is being a widow any different than being a single mom? It's not. You're still alone. You're still by yourself. Well, you're still alone. You're feeling abandoned and betrayed. But when you're a widow, everybody wants to help you. I had enough food in my freezer to feed a third world country. Everybody wants to help you clean your house. Everybody wants to babysit your kids. But when you're a single mom, nobody wants to help you. You find 555 ways to cook macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. I would have never thought that this experience of being a single mom and being a widow God would ever be able to use that. And then he gave me the scripture, Genesis 50:20. For I intended to harm you, Satan, but God intended it for good, for what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Job. I was looking for a job, and God put me in a job. I became the director of the local pregnancy center. My job was to stand at the feet of the ultrasound table where the girl was laying, contemplating whether or not she was going to choose life or abort or place for adoption. I would stand at the feet and pray, "Okay, Lord, if you want me to go and talk to her, open that door." Most of the time, if they were thinking about abortion, they wouldn't look at the ultrasound. Sometimes we would get to watch them open their eyes, peek. I remember this one day, she was 15, and her boyfriend had told her to get an abortion or get out. I stood there and watched a tear drip down her cheek. I went over gently to her and put my hand on her shoulder and held her hand and said, "Do you believe in God?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you believe that God doesn't make mistakes?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "You're not a mistake. This baby is not a mistake. You are not here by mistake. We are going to love you, and we are going to give you hope." Sometimes the girls would leave, and we would never know what happened. Sometimes we would get a text the next day on our crisis line. It would just simply read, "I'm going to parent. I canceled my abortion appointment. Thank you." Little did she know we're at work having a party because God saved another baby. This was my job for 10 years. What an amazing blessing. To be able to be used, to be able to see that heartbeat flutter at 5.5 weeks. I saw about 350 girls during my time at the pregnancy center choose life. I saw 350 little hands and little feet in the womb. Wow. Probably one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, except being a parent. There are many people in this room that helped standing by that table, funding the center, the board, the staff, the volunteers. There are so many people that are all pieces to that puzzle. I would like to acknowledge them now. Thank you for standing up for those who do not have a voice. There's also some other people in this room. Maybe a mom who wasn't sure that she was pregnant. She had a 13-year-old at home and didn't know she was ready for a bonus baby. Or the meth user that just wanted to be a mom but couldn't get clean. Maybe there's a girl that walked into the pregnancy center thinking it was Planned Parenthood. Maybe there's a girl sitting next to you, or maybe she lives next door and you've never knew who she was. She had she was a Christian had a Christian background, and she went to youth group. And the week before, her youth pastor told her that having sex was totally un-okay. And she had just found out she was pregnant. Does she abort? Or does she become somebody that people are pointing their fingers at? There are so many women and men in this room. Yeah, men. What about the guy who stands up for life when his girlfriend says that she's pregnant? There's probably some in this room who were on the other end of that, whom didn't have control over what that girl chose to do. There are probably some in this room who've had abortions or know someone who has. Please know, you deserve life that is full, and you deserve hope. We are here tonight to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, to give a voice to those who cannot speak. This book would not have happened without Casey. Can you come up and stand with me, Casey? Casey and I are going to take this book nationally. If you want to help, there's a card on the table. You can fill it out. You can put some money in the jar. You can pray for us. We're here to stand up and give a voice to those who don't have a voice. Are you with me?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, shoot. Do you know how to turn that off? Oh, wait, he wanted... Okay.
I think he'll cut out the evaluation.
He wants the evaluation, so... But are we getting evaluations now, or are we doing them later? Okay. But put the mic on when you're doing evaluations so we can hear you, please. Or at least hold it.
Okay.
Because last time,
Then I'll just do the
yeah, last time it...
testing. The evaluations will begin. Karla, you've got what is very rare among speakers, the good speakers. They speak with what I call vitality. And that's a true belief in what you're talking about. And it came out in your expressions. I saw one speaker, he didn't know how to speak very well. He was a worse speaker, but he gave one of the best speeches I've ever witnessed because he spoke from his heart. And that's what you have is vitality. Any other speakers, evaluators? Okay.
We have two assigned speakers, we're not doing
So write it down.
No, we're doing the evaluations.
We're making everything confusing today.
I am not a perfect man. Okay.
Lucy Crown will evaluate Karla Sutter's content. Karla, I really like the way your introduction started with Psalm 138. God is my victory. That was excellent. Before I go any further, this doesn't have to do with content necessarily, but practice breathing.
I'm getting better, though.
You are getting better, but it adds